In a couple of previous videos, I showed you the making, sort of the start of the leaf springs, and actually we focused primarily on the front leaf springs. They weren't finished, but now I've got the front leaf springs finished and the rear leaf springs finished. So what we're doing today is this is a very condensed version of an extremely complex and long drawn out process to make all of these, and to make them correct, to make them fit, etc. Now here we've got a little bit of a close-up, or as close as we can get, showing one of the front leaf springs, and they do differ a little bit, side to side, and some of the other detail parts that still have to be put on. There are, to make these, there are about 30 some odd separate steps you go through to do them, from measuring to cutting to shaping, etc., etc. Really, just extremely involved and painful. Definitely one of the most tedious parts of making this model, and something I didn't enjoy and that had to be done over and over again to get them set and to fit right, but finally done. I'd say just on the rear springs alone, just to make the pair that we've got here, there was a little over 36 hours involved, 36 and a half hours. Some of that is just studying the photos, looking at the dimensions, drawings, doing that, and then setting and cutting. And as I said, it's a very, very slow process. What I will show is too that we've got some of the tiny parts that are used. I'm just going to grab tweezers, and to give you an example, they're just it's very hard to see, but on both of on the fronts and the rears, and I've got a front here and I've got a rear over here where I'm using the tweezers as a pointer. There are tiny little tabs that come out from the leaves that the little bolt heads, little nuts and bolts, are on top of now. And if I turn them over, you may be able to see that they're a little bit, whoops, keep moving them. They're a little bit round, and that's in addition to the round bar stock that goes over them, but they're a little bit rounded and they come out. To make those and to do them for each leaf, there really wasn't a way to get them uniform and to perfectly cut each leaf, get them to the right length, round the ends, then have the rounder tab cutting out and cutting them. So those are all made, they're individual little parts that are cut to size off of a tiny bar stock, and this is just one of them. And each one of those gets put on one at a time and gets fitted, and then they get sanded and filed and filled until it looks like they're a uniform part of the leaf spring, of these steel springs, the way they are on the real car. And there we just lost one, so that happens also. It's one of my great frustrations too. The parts go away. And then I'll just show you quickly, because again I'm trying to make this condensed and so that you won't fall asleep on me. Let's see, we've got the left side here, so I'm going to look for the left one, and just to give you an idea of how it finally all fits in place, and there it is. Just fits in place as it should. And eventually those will be glued in. There are other assorted components that get attached to them, and as they get attached to the axle, etc. And the reason that they have their back mounts in place here that I'm pointing to with my finger and tapping is that has to do for painting and assembling as to what is really going to work best, and so that everything fits the way that it should, which is a similar process. I'm just going to flip the frame around and I'll show you the right rear. Since that was the left front, we'll just show you the right. Let's see, I've got these lightly marked in pencil, and let's see if I can spin it around and get this puppy in place. There's a way that they're set to grip on the ends with the brass. It's cut and it's curved and it's set to attach and fill in. It's not, and I'm doing this left-handed now, which is really probably not a smart thing for me to do, considering I'm right-handed, not ambidextrous. We're going to get that over. At some point, we're going to get that onto the spring. It's well like one of those, dog tricks. Works every time in practice, but then when you go to show the public, let's see. Yep. There we go. I just felt it clip into place, and the bolts here as they go in and fit into the chassis, and there you go. And there, that one is such a tight fit that it just stays in without any adhesive or anything. And again, same thing, getting set up. The next thing will be painting them. Lots of parts, lots of hours, and I am really relieved that these are done now, and they're set to fit perfectly with the axle, which actually I'll just try to show you, which is over here. and that'll go in, and actually the axle goes under. See if I can do a quick idea of where and how, so that you'll be able to see. And it goes like that. And that's how it's set, ride height set, everything else, and then there are more mounts and more pieces, and it goes on and on. Well, that's it for the leaf springs, and that is it for my little video today. Thanks for looking. Now, there's one other thing that I wanted to show on making this, and why I keep saying that it's such a tedious process, and also something I didn't enjoy, is the strips that I used to make the leaves, from the brass, including the styrene. They're flat, and they're very squared, sharp edges, which is how they should be. The only problem is that on the real vehicle, the leaves have a slightly rounded, curved edge, and that's also, you'll notice that it's easy to see that they're separate leaves, and they are slightly rounded. If I was to just cut these and assemble everything together and put them flat, you wouldn't really be able to see it. By the time all was said and done, you wouldn't really notice that they're separate leaves. It's really hard to see any definition or delineation between one to the other. So they have to be slightly rounded. So they've got to be rounded on each side, top and bottom. So each strip gets rounded by hand on both sides lengthwise, and top, and then on bottom, and that's repeated. And I had to do many of these strips because of the lengths and the amount that I'd cut. So to give you a quick idea, I will turn on my dust collector, and the process is taking a file, holding it tightly here by hand, and you just start to go and round just a little bit, not too much, just a little, and you keep doing that all the way down. Once you're done with that side, then you do the other side and flip it around. And then after that's done, I'll just do the other side for the heck of it, just to show, because there's another process done with sanding. I also use another file too to finally go over it. So it really takes a while to do, but it's how you get the final look. And then with the, let's see, which sandpaper did I use? I think I used this one. And that just smooths it out so you don't see anything from the file marks. They'll also be covered too with some of the primer and the paint, so it'll all work by the time you have a finished model. And you got to do the same with the white styrene strips. The only thing that saves a little bit of time with the styrene is I don't have to use the file also, so I use just the paper. Now, this type of sandpaper too, you don't find in the hardware stores. This is paper that I buy from a jewelry supply house, and they're all different grades of it, and it's really good. So again, you see, this is what I'm doing. It's little by little by little, and you're going down the whole length, and it's about a 14-inch length. And then you repeat it on the other side, and then you repeat it again, and then you repeat it again. So 4 times for each strip. Takes forever, and all I can say is I'm really glad that I'm done with the springs. That's it.